Cool. And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Buffaloes Breakdown podcast. I'm Ryland, one half of your co-host. We're here with Jake as always.
Yes, sir. How you guys doing? I guess you guys
And
can't answer, but just pretend like I can hear you.
Yeah. And we're here with Jack for I think the third straight episode.
Woo! Yeah.
Jack's essentially he's a glorified co-host at this point too. So
I only come in for wins. So if
that's
we lose
true.
again, I'm not coming back.
Fair. So you better hope you don't fucking lose. So yeah, got a big game coming up tomorrow. About 16 hours away. Kickoff against Utah at Folsom Field. Eventful weekend. We got big noon on campus, but we have a matchup in Lubbock from last weekend. To recap, Jake and I were there. A lot happened. A lot of tortilla-fueled madness going on down in West Texas. But the Buffs managed to pull it off, came away with a 41-27 win. We all were on the same page that we thought that the Buffs were probably going to pull this off, and they did. But what did you guys see from that game in Lubbock?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the game was a little bit uglier than maybe we thought with the 3 turnovers that we forced there in the second half in plus territory. Didn't really capitalize on the first 2, and then whole mess. And then we got a touchdown off the third fumble that Shiloh scooped up. So, we ended up winning by 14, but I will say it wasn't as pretty as I think Buffs fans would have liked. But overall, it was a good game. I think the offense and the defense both, showed that they could adapt in game and make changes and ultimately come out with the win. So I thought that was a win to definitely be happy about, and one that sets us up for the rest of the year. What did you see, Jack?
Yeah, I wasn't there. So I'm sure that you felt the hostility much more than I did. Was upset when CU didn't come out of the tunnel with any sort of anti-America flag. I was hoping we'd lean into it a lot more. We did not, but didn't seem to matter. Yeah, I think it's weird. I was immediately proven wrong, right? I was assuming the Texas Tech secondary would be a wet paper towel, and for the most part in the first half, they made Shedeur Sanders' life a lot harder than I thought they would, and they just sat back and ate. Not 8 as in ATE, sat back and ate, like 8 people got back in coverage. So we've seen that work before with him, and CU started slow with some of that. But the problem is when you sit back and 8, if CU can get the ball to its playmakers in space, that's going to cut you up, and that's exactly what happened. So CU adjusted pretty well. Once again, Robert Livingston is the second half MVP. Defense always seems to bow their backs when they need to, and offense did enough. So wasn't that pretty, and depending on who you ask, there was some, I guess Texas Tech fans are pretty convinced that there was some ref shenanigans that helped CU, but on the other side, I think that can be true too. In the end, you beat a road opponent by 10 plus again in Big 12 play, and this is a bowl team that you beat again by 12 plus. So what else am I going to complain about? I don't know. Like CU 7-2, the second in the conference. It was an incredible weekend for them, and you win not playing your best against a team that's pretty jacked up on the road. Now you come home against a team that might be the opposite of jacked up. So hard to complain.
I think you're spot on with that, Jack. This team does need to learn how to close games out. And they have been doing the thing, kind of sitting on their hands, playing not to lose, especially, they did it against Cincinnati. They did it again against Texas Tech. But goddamn, the end of these games don't need to be as stressful as they are. And it's really frustrating. I guess this is kind of what you get used to being a CU fan. Like, this is kind of, you've been forged in these fires, so this is par for the course. But sometimes a step back is necessary, and you need to realize that it doesn't need to be like this. Piggybacking off another point that Jack said about Robert Livingston being the second half MVP. There's a lot of hype, or there's a lot of talking about Dion taking another job and moving on. In my opinion, I think we should be more worried about Robert Livingston. I think they need to figure that out, and they need to keep this guy here. How concerned are you guys about Robert Livingston, taking a head coaching job somewhere after this year?
I think for me to be concerned, I would have had to think that he would have stayed another year. So I would love if he did, but I never once thought that was. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be the modus operandi. If he was good and if he was middling, I think he could. But I don't. I am not conditioned to expect happiness 2 years in a row, and I was not expecting happiness 2 years in a row. So, no, I think Robert Livingston should 1,000%. I don't think it's going to be a head coaching job. I think it's going to be going back to the Bengals. I don't know shit about the NFL, so I don't know. But apparently the Bengals are bad now, and they
Their
might need a
defense.
new defensive coordinator. So I would think that's a really easy fit for them, right? That feels like a easy choice for him to make too. I would rather be NFL defensive coordinator than college too. So if he stays, that's great. I don't think it's going to be a money reason that he leaves. Like I think CU has the coffers now to pretty much let any assistant coach who wants to stay. But I think he's going to jump back in the NFL immediately. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I got to agree with Jack. I think I completely agree. I don't think I ever really expected Livingston to be here longer than a year. And I think there's a big difference between Livingston and Shermer. Shermer had a almost 20-year career in the NFL with a multitude of teams with a multitude of different roles from position coach to offensive coordinator to even a head coach role for 3 or 4 years. So Shermer's seen the league. I think he's sort of on the back end of his career. I'd say he's more likely to stay around in college ball, hang around, and maybe see what he can accomplish there. Who knows? He could also go to the pros again. But, Livingston's a younger guy. I think he's got his whole career ahead of him. I think maybe he's just now starting to make a real name for himself. And, he might view Colorado as a stepping stone. And so I don't see a reality where Livingston hangs around too much longer in Boulder, but I'm sure with the talent that Dion's already brought in and with the success that this team's had, I don't think they'll have any lack of candidates when it comes to hiring a new defensive coordinator at the end of the year. It's just gonna be a challenge if we can hire the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can hire the right guy, I think, this defense might be able to still be good, but you got a lot of guys on that defense who might be looking to transfer out. I'd be concerned about guys like McKinney. And so, especially with Livingston leaving, that's the bigger concern to me is if Livingston leaves, how many of these, younger defensive players can we retain like DJ McKinney or some of these younger guys?
I would say let anyone who was convinced Robert Livingston was a slam dunk at the beginning of the year cast the first "I can't believe he leaves" stone at the end of the year. None of us knew who this guy was when he was hired. At least I didn't, and he was pretty deep cut. And I don't think any of us were saying he's going to be who he is now, right? So if he does leave, that's great for him. Sucks for us, but also what makes me think that we can't do something like that again, right? Like what I don't see why this isn't a repeatable thing. Maybe it won't be the exact same thing, but why not? Why not hire the next Robert Livingston if he does leave?
Maybe Mike Zimmer can come through and recommend somebody good again. My favorite Vikings head coach, legacy hire right there.
Yeah. Or hey, Ryan Walters will be available. So
I'd take it. I'd take it.
I actually am not that concerned about transfers out. He's going to have transfers out. That's the way that Deion Sanders works. That's the way that any college program is going to work. And maybe McKinney does go to start elsewhere because they can get more money. But especially cornerbacks, I am not worried about Deion Sanders recruiting and retaining cornerbacks. Like that's a position that he's going to be able to recruit and keep people as long as he wants, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Plus, I think Colton Hood. Yeah, I think Colton Hood's going to hang around a while too, and he seems to be. He's already a pretty good Big 12 corner. You give him another year to develop. I don't see a situation where he leaves. So we won't be, and we are pretty deep at corner. Surprisingly deep, but can't take McKinney or Travis off the field. So you understand that. So no, we will be fine. I guess the real concern is probably those transfers on the defensive line, and we do have a handful of seniors on the defensive line, and so I think there's more of a concern there.
Yeah, well, so to bring it back specifically to the TTU game, anyone else object to Colton Hood more on kickoff return? Like that
Nope.
dude was
that guy rocks. Yeah, he needs to be doing that more.
He
That
dropped
was
that pick in
amazing.
the end zone, which sucks. And that was a pick. He had it in his hands and he dropped it, which is too bad. But him with the ball in his hands is incredible. So Horn's out again this week, which is too bad. That's why he wasn't on the kickoff return in Texas Tech. But I'm totally fine if Colton Hood gets more touches because he's just an insane athlete. And that's the exact mentality you want from a cornerback too. He knows he's good and he'll let you know. So yeah, to bring it back to the Texas Tech game, Robert Livingston was incredible in that second half, and CU keeps getting turnovers in the second half of games too, to the point where it seems to be not just luck. Say what you want, it's not luck that Hill Green has like stick 'em on his gloves for that pick. That was incredible. They missed a Shiloh Sanders fumble in the first half. We don't have to talk about that, but that was absolutely a fumble before that guy crossed the goal line. Don't worry, I'm just being a homer. And then he got redemption at the end, right? So, I think one of the big takeaways for Texas Tech from that Texas Tech game is we know CU's defensive line is legit. It's not like Texas Tech has an incredible offensive line up front, but those guys are like legit terrifying. It has to be terrifying to face them. And this is without Deion Hayes. This is without the guy that we all thought was going to be the best sack guy in our unit. So like BJ Green is finding his stride still. He's incredible. Arden Walker is like an incredible third or fourth option. We know what Okunlola can do. He's really, really athletic and is incredible at those run fits too. I'm going to stop using that incredible adjective. Sorry. And then finally, the guy that I don't even know how you keep him off the field, but I'll stop here. Like Keaton Wade is disgusting. Keaton
Wade rocks. I do want to take a second to set the record straight on Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn did not get hurt slipping on a tortilla. That did not happen. I've seen that everywhere. That did not happen. Back to the defensive line. Side note, they did a phenomenal job just bringing in like almost like 10 depth pieces over the summer. Like they brought in a bunch of SEC guys like Big Q and like Torian Carter and those kinds of guys. And they fit the scheme so well. And there's nothing that's even alluding to the fact that Deion Sanders isn't going to be able to do that again. And now that guys are seeing that this Colorado, like you can have success in Colorado. And if you come here, you're going to play. So I think that there's probably even more incentive to come here now. And, it's the sky's the limit, at least going forward. Talking more on the offensive side of the ball, Jake, you had a really good article this week about how Texas Tech, we only needed one play on the offensive side of the ball to beat Texas Tech. There was a press to win button kind of after that first quarter. You want to talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, Ryland and I were sitting in the press box, and after that, I think it took 4 drives for us to really kind of dial in on what Texas Tech was doing right. And then after that, I think we scored on like 4 of our next 4 drives with I think 3 of those being touchdowns. So
yeah, they scored on 6 of 7 drives after that.
6 of 7. It was, and it was all due to the fact that Texas Tech was unwilling to adapt. And that's been the biggest strengths of Livingston and Shermer throughout the years, their ability to adapt. As a coordinator, only a small portion of your job is to game plan and get things right before the game. What's really going to matter is, can you adapt to what the defense is doing within the game? And so far, this team's been phenomenal at it. But we got close to the end of that first quarter there. Ryland and I we're watching the game, and it's just like the corners are sitting 12 yards off the ball, like ridiculously far off the ball. And I think you could probably hand, like a 9th grader who spent a little bit too much time playing Madden, you could probably hand him that film and ask him what play to run, and he might know. Essentially, they just started going to the wide receiver screen over and over and over. Will Shepard became your bulk guy. They wanted to throw to him on early downs, first and second down, get him involved early, kind of let him carry the volume of that workload since we were going to go to the screen repeatedly. And your big play guys were Travis and Wester. We did see Travis drop a couple of those screens, some low balls, couple just maybe took his eyes off of it. I'm not sure what happened, but all in all, it was just the wide receiver screen. And we even started incorporating some bubble routes on runs that looked like RPOs. I'm not 100% sure if this offense is running true RPOs or not. I have a feeling no, because I don't see Shador looking for those routes. think they're more so to keep the defense honest, the secondary.
Mhm.
But we were at least showing like we were running RPOs, kind of that same idea as the screen. And we just repeatedly ran screens over and over and over. And I counted at least 15 screens. Two of Shador's 3 touchdowns came from screens, and over half of his passing yards on the day came from wide receiver screens. So, and if you counted the checkdowns, you'd probably be up around 60 or 70% of his yardage for the day. So, Texas Tech didn't adapt throughout the game. They sort of stayed at least 8 to 9 yards off the ball. They really didn't want to let Travis and Shepard get behind them. And that was to their peril because, Shermer and Shador are going to be more than happy taking the checkdowns and taking the screens all day long if they're going to be, if they're going to be hitting for that much yardage. So I thought it was a phenomenal way to adapt during the game, and it really showcased that. And I think it was a good game to put on film for Shador. NFL teams are going to see him have the ability to take a step back, be a facilitator of the offense, not look for the big play every time. Throwing the ball away and taking your checkdowns and hitting your screens is a really big part of playing at the next level. So I think that was a great game for Shador to put on tape, and I think it showcased how versatile this offense can truly be. And
I think that was probably a bad game for Shador too, relatively. Slow start, couldn't get anything going in the first quarter. He had that horrible overthrow to Travis in the corner of the end zone that probably should have been a touchdown. And he still had like 291 yards, 4 total touchdowns, and 1 Big 12 offensive play of the week. Like, there should be no argument that this guy is the best quarterback in the country. I know Cam Ward is awesome, and credit where credit's due, but Shador is in just a class of his own. Like, this is incredible. Being able to do what he did against Texas Tech and put up those numbers and still have a relatively bad game for your standards is incredible.
Yeah, and not turning the ball over too. He I think that might be, is that the second straight game without turnover, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think he turned the ball over against Cincinnati. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so 2 straight games for Shador with no turnovers. I think that's really important moving forward as well.
Yeah,
I think turnovers have been so uncharacteristic of him.
I'll also say his running opened up a lot of the offense in the first half. I think that's that was CU's first touchdown, with a Shador Sanders rushing touchdown, if I remember right. So I think he figured out that they're sitting back, and if they are sitting back, that means he has room to maneuver. And we know that's a weapon he has. He pulls it out as a last resort, but that's another thing of just game management as a positive, right? Not as a insult. That's managing the game and what they're giving you. He's fast enough to get that. What did he get? It was like a 4th and 6, right? Made his reads, made the right move. Like that, what kept the drive alive. So he scores on that drive, all because of his legs. So, before the game, I was saying wrong stuff of, like, this might be the one where Shador and Travis really pop off. It wasn't. Shador missed throws downfield. He missed Travis a few times. He wasn't exactly on point in the first half because I think we know now that deep zone could throw him off a little bit at first. But what's great is when he doesn't fully pop off, he still is, like you said, the best quarterback in the country. So still waiting on that game. From Shador. But goddamn, it's just fun to watch a quarterback do the simple stuff right every time. How many of those screens don't work if he gave them just enough, right? That 2nd and 16 that Wester scored on, perfect lead, right? Wester catches it with 2 steps of pace. And we know when Wester already has pace, he's gone. Same with every single one that Shepard throws. He throws it to the right spot where Shepard can kind of pick and choose his blocks, and he already has momentum. Those are small things that when you're watching Steven Montez and you're watching Sam Neuer and you're watching Brendan Lewis, shout out Brendan Lewis, like, these are the things that they could not do consistently. College quarterbacks cannot do consistently for a game, for a season, and he does it consistently for 2 years, right? Like, it's fun to watch that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we have any other thoughts about Texas Tech before we move on to Utah?
I got a few. I think Hill Green is still my favorite player on the defense to watch. He's insane. Taj Brooks was like 2.8 yards a carry before they tried to get him that season record in the 4th quarter, and CU was kind of playing in prevent shell. So once again, try to run in the middle of the field and see you at your risk. And Wanko's going to take 2 blocks. Hill Green's going to destroy you. And Bentley's there too, man. So, like, that middle is way more solid than all of us expected, I think, at the beginning of the year. And this is without Shane Cokes and Buell as well. So shout out again to the defensive recruiting staff and the front seven. Tillman Craig remains incredible. I personally enjoyed seeing Curtis Stoutmeyer in the second half and the times that we did see him in the second half, and I would like to see more of him throughout the year. I know we won't, but that would be fun. What else?
Shiloh played marginally better. I do say
Shiloh
marginally.
yeah. Boomer bust, and he boomed. He boomed against Texas Tech. Last bit. One of the most fun Shermer play calls I've ever seen. Super delayed RPO with a tight end chip block with Savell Smalls on the second, I believe the second touchdown drive. That play was incredible, where it was a fake handoff to Augustave, and then it makes Shedeur Sanders' job really easy, right? Savell Smalls blocks the one guy that goes with Shedeur Sanders, gives him some time, allows Shedeur to look downfield. If no one's downfield is open, that guy comes free, and Savell Smalls is open. He did like a little basketball, like, post-entry pass, and Savell just runs for like 12 yards. Awesome play design. That's incredible, right? Makes Shedeur's life super easy. You have one read. If no one's open downfield, do a little flick. Awesome.
Yeah, and we saw, Ryland and I noticed those delayed RPOs, something you saw around college football nationally throughout the year, and we've seen for a couple of years now. And it's not something Colorado had done up until that Cincinnati game. And there was a drive there in the second or third quarter of that Cincinnati game where you saw a couple delayed RPOs that both hit big over the middle. And seeing that play call, you know, if you're a football nerd, if you like kind of scheming up plays and stuff like that, seeing a delayed RPO work that well and break open for 15 to 25 yards is just phenomenal. So I would love to see CU and Pat Shermer, you know, kind of go back to that well. I think that well is, I think it's always going to be full.
That was all I had. That was my rapid fire.
I think that's good. I think we're ready to move on to Utah, though. Yeah, we're about, like 16 hours from kickoff. What are we? We're 10-point favorites at the moment?
No.
Is it 11?
Shifted, Ryland. No.
Oh.
It's at 13 and a half.
Holy shit. When did that happen? I've been away today.
It's when they announced that Isaac Wilson is out with mono. Okay. They didn't announce, but it's pretty much out there.
Isaac Wilson's out too?
Yeah.
When did it happen?
A few hours ago. 4 hours ago. And the rumor is mono. Yeah, the rumor's mono.
Oh my god.
You gotta stop kissing girls after the game.
I know, he got hit with the KJ Simpson.
Yeah, man. Especially at Utah.
So who's starting at quarterback for them?
This is CU killer of last year, Batari, coming back.
Batari's back?
No
way!
Man. Yeah.
Yo, I'm gonna see how much money's in my bank account now.
No way.
Line is a 4-point shift already, Jake, today. So good luck if you're trying to get on it. But the under might still be in play.
Oh my god. That's insane.
I
had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for breaking some news. He looked good. And I was fully prepared for Isaac Wilson. But
Rose
still,
some juice and he can move.
Yeah.
It looks like he played on a Lisfranc fracture, which Cepho did as well in 2016. That's a really hard thing to come back from.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I was preparing for Wilson too. Wasn't scared at all of Wilson. I'm even less scared of Batari. So, yeah.
I will say, and I know I said this in the Ralphie Report Slack, that I'm a little scared of this game, and I know I shouldn't be, but I have Utah flashbacks from many years of Utah tomfuckery happening against this team. So anytime that we play Utah, I get a little anxious, but this should be different this year. I will say, like, this is not the Utah team we're accustomed to seeing. They are all out of sorts, both on the field and off the field, with Kyle Whittingham and the athletic director getting slapped by the Big 12.
Yep.
I know, like, we're gonna get a Texas whistle. I know Jack said that earlier, but like it's basically now the team that the Big 12 that's been openly shit talking the Big 12 and the Big 12's golden goose right now. So we should be getting that Texas Oklahoma whistle this week, which will be nice because I'm not accustomed to see you getting that, especially in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the fourth string quarterback then for Utah here.
Technically the fifth string because the fourth string is Sam Heward, who's been out for the year all year. But yeah.
God.
Yeah. The only way that this game is even close, and correct me if you guys disagree or just disagree openly, but the only way this game is close is if this D line finds a way to force a couple turnovers, whether it's batted balls or a strip sack. You know, maybe they score, maybe they get a defensive score. Maybe, I mean, our special teams is terrible. Maybe they return a kick. You know, you could see them putting up 14, 17, 20 maybe points at most. But with how bad this offense has already been before they moved on to their fifth string quarterback now, I don't see them moving the ball. Not one bit. I don't see them moving the ball. And if you're Colorado, I know it's not the right answer, but the strength of this defense is real. They have a real defense, and they do have some real pass rushers. Can't pull any names off my head. I know top of my head. I know Jack probably has them, but they've got that big country boy.
Van Dillinger.
Yeah, he's a ball player, and he can make life hard for you. And I want to say, you know, if he stacks up over the right tackle, he might be able to get home a few times in that game, and who knows? But if you're Colorado, and I hate to say it, you to some extent you have to play not to lose. It's like, you know, it's like going up against a team with just no offense. You can't. The only way you lose is if you make mistakes. If you shoot yourself in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
So to some extent, you know, let's run the ball. Let's make sure that we can establish a run game, and let's take our punts when we get them. If we have to punt, let's let Bassett do his job, punt them deep, and let's force their fifth string quarterback to try to dig themselves out of a hole in their own territory.
I mean, Luke Bittard did beat us last year, but also Ryan Staub was playing quarterback for us. So that's a weird game.
Travis on a touchdown, never forget.
Yeah, no, I'm still mad at the Pac-12 refs. That was a really bad punch in the gut, just going out.
Yeah,
that sucked.
I'm gonna hard disagree with some things that Jake just said there. I think his read on both teams are accurate. I'm gonna go full homer. Is basically what I'm gonna say. So we have 3 weeks left, and Travis Hunter is a betting favorite for the Heisman. And just like Texas Tech, I guarantee you that Deion Sanders cares about accolades, cares about milestones, cares about stuff like that. And I guarantee you Travis Hunter is the same way too. In my opinion, Utah is a broken team right now. I cannot imagine a more emotionally deflating thing than the one guy that gave you hope to beat your rival at your home place is out for the year, and you lost to your rival in a controversial way. I don't think it's that controversial, but you know, you lost in a last-minute field goal to the people you hate more than anyone in the world, right? That's gonna, like, in my opinion, break a team, and a team that's already like teetering. This is not a Utah team. That's a team that's supposed to compete for the playoffs. Everyone's hurt. No one wants to. In my opinion, it looks like no one really wants to play for this offense anymore. They fired Andy Ludwig. I think they're gonna come in at maybe the worst possible emotional moment, and CU is obviously in a pretty good emotional spot. Sure, try to establish the run. We always want to try to establish the run. We did that against Texas Tech too. But I also just think, like, I don't know, man. Let's see if we can just boat race these guys. Like, this to me is an opportunity to win by 30 if we want to, because I don't think they're going to want to stick with it if CU can get out ahead early. So my hard disagree is, like, I don't feel the need to feed Augusta as much. I would much rather see more of a let it fly, because I have zero faith that Utah can keep up at all, no matter what. And sure, you don't want them to feel like they have hope in the game, but I also I don't think the offense can move regardless. Like, this defense is legit. As Jake said, CU's defense is a real thing this year. Utah's offense has not gone well against real defenses this year, period, let alone with Batari. So, I don't know. Take some chances, man. See if you can get some Travis Hunter long touchdowns. See if you can get some Shedeur Sanders stats. Like, throw it out there. Let's go.
I think that there's one scenario in which Utah pulls this off, and it's Micah Bernard turns into Saquon Barkley, and that's it. This Utah team it's just such a horrible year. Like Andy Ludwig's gone. They lost Jalen Glover, transfer portal. I mean, no quarterback. You don't have your star tight end. It's just a really tough year, and they're going to need, they're going to need three plus turnovers to make this a deal. And Micah Bernard needs to have a generational game.
Their leading receiver has 0 touchdowns on the year, right? Like Dorian Singer has 0 touchdowns.
I think so. Yeah,
tells you where they're at. So I don't know. I'm dangerously confident, just like I have been the last 2 weeks, dude. But that's kind of where I'm at. Is like, let's just make sure if you guys haven't seen the CU video for Travis Hunter's Heisman campaign, watch that now. That thing's awesome.
Go retweet it.
Like I don't know, man. CU cares about this stuff for good reason. If CU comes away from this game 8-2, Travis Hunter has 150 yards, 2 TDs, and once again locks down that side of the field, or maybe this week plays nickel. That's a good win. Like that's something they're going to go for too. So I'm reaching past the goal of beat Utah, and that's maybe Hubris is going to bite me in the ass. But I'm at the goal of like pour it on. Like we need to go. In my opinion, go fast and make sure we get these stats, dude. Because I know macro level, I want a Heisman. I want a second Heisman. So I don't know. You can clip this if CU ends up losing. That's fine. I'm sure they will now. That's my fault. But
I will say that someone just leaked the uniforms on Twitter. I don't know what we can do with that information. Maybe nothing at all.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Oh, they're gray again, which I'm so mad about.
They're gray, and it's the black helmet with the USA logo, with the United States flag in the logo. They're clearly trying to make a point that they don't hate America and they don't hate the American flag by coming out the very next week with those helmets.
Okay. Do we need to talk about what happened? Do you know what happened, Jack?
Right?
Well, no. Do you know what happened with that? Like what actually happened?
Ryland's got the
DNVR guys found out.
Yeah, the guy was just like lying or saying
they wanted the shirt got denied because they had a photo, or it had a red Raider wrangling a buffalo on the shirt, and the school was obviously was like, no, we don't want that on a shirt. So so the guy lied and said that it was because there was an American flag on the shirt. I have this shirt right here that I got at the other store, which is very much, this got approved by the school. No drama.
Yeah, man.
I had to get the shirt. I had to get the controversial shirt.
Yeah, I saw some of that stuff come through. I still wish we leaned into it more. I'm totally fine. I love
Shador sounded off in his presser. He let loose a bit, but
but I would much rather be the full-on villain, dude. I would say let's auction off our helmet to the highest country bidder, dude. If the Republic of Ghana decides that they want to spend a bunch of money to have their flag in our logo, let's do it. Let's go full villain, man. I don't know.
We're gonna be the nerd wallet Buffaloes next week, then.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, company flags too, dude. Take all comers. It's all about the NIL.
We'll take it.
I'm so sick of the gray uniforms at home. I'm so sick of it. Give me gold, black, black, or gold, black, gold, please. Like, I'm an old man. I know I'm an old man, but I don't want to see gray anymore, man. I don't want to see it.
The gray is the worst. I hate the gray. I was fine with the gray with the white helmet. I thought that looked decent, but it kind of did look like an away uniform.
Yeah.
We need gold, black, black. We need gold, black, black once this year. Yeah. If we don't get gold, black, black, I'm gonna be beside myself.
And maybe that's Thanksgiving. But
you got it. Yeah, I mean they kind of gave you that with the throwbacks though, sort of. I mean, it's not exactly
really.
Well, it's gold, black, black. It's just the throwback.
It was gold, black, gold. I think for homecoming it was full gold, black, gold. I'm pretty sure.
No, for the Baylor game it was gold, black, black.
Yeah, there's history of the gold, black, black that was not unfortunately represented in that version that we saw. Which I want to see the funeral dress is basically what I'm asking for. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the gray. It just seems I'd much rather see the black uniform at home in general. But hey, if it gets recruits here, I don't care. Put whatever you want on there, obviously. And the gray uniform looks great with the flatties, I think. I like the white trim flatties.
Yeah, I'll say here, and I'll play devil's advocate. And I don't have ties to like historic Colorado lore, so I can.
Okay. You have like an hour free. I'm just gonna commandeer the podcast. Keep going.
Yeah, go ahead. I think I do like the gray. I liked when we wore them last year. I like the gray with the black helmet. I think it's tough, and I do think it brings recruits in. I think it's
like TUFF tough.
A what?
Like TUFF tough, like cool tough.
Yeah. Cool TUFF tough. Yeah, I think I honestly do think they're tough. I think it's a nice change up. I think it's a little bit different than what we're used to. And as someone who enjoys the Dion era of Colorado and someone who likes the flashiness and stuff, I think gold black. I'm assuming it's going to be black gray black or gray or black gray. I don't know if the pants will be gray or black. I guess it's hard to say. I tell you, in this picture, it looks like they might be black pants too. I don't know. I like them. I wouldn't say I'm in love with them. I think my favorite uniform we've wore this year were the throwbacks. That aren't really, the ones we wore against Baylor. I think those are absolutely maybe the best uniform we have. And I know Dion. I know Dion thinks the same thing. He said that was his favorite uniform of the year too. So I'd like to see the throwbacks again. Even if maybe it's for the conference championship, bowl game, playoffs, wherever we end up. I'd love to see those uniforms again.
You know what we haven't seen either, which I'm dying to see, is the TCUs with the white and the all white with the jerseys with the gold trimming and the gold lettering.
Dude, like, did you see the Travis Hunter Heisman thing? That's what he's wearing. I'm like, why didn't you just wear that?
I know those. Yeah. Other than the classics, I think those are our favorite. Those are our best jerseys.
When Ryland and I showed up to the stadium in Lubbock last weekend, they had two, like the logos that were up there was the Texas Tech helmet, but it was the new gray and red one, the Patrick Mahomes jersey they wore last week.
Galvanized steel.
And then Colorado's logo was white with the gold face mask. And Ryland and I are like, oh, they might know something that we don't. Turns out they didn't know something that we don't. They thought that the promo picture with Travis Hunter was an accurate reflection of what jersey we were going to be wearing in the game. And then when we actually came out for warmups, whoever was up there doing the big screen decided, oh, well, let's change the helmet. So they changed it before kickoff. But before the game, the Texas Tech thought it was white and gold as well.
I was so excited. So excited.
Yeah.
But no. But the uniforms were great last week still, so I don't mind.
Has CU won a gold helmet twice this year? Is that it?
They did against UCF, and they did against Baylor.
Again, right? North Dakota State,
and then
Baylor, and UCF.
North Dakota State was black and white.
Yeah, but North Dakota State was the debut, the black helmet with the white
UCF
face mask.
Baylor?
Did they wear gold against Arizona? Or was that black?
No, because that was gray, right? That was gray. I thought that was white, gray, white or something. Or white, gray, gray.
Because that was a road game, so
it was. I'll tell you here in a sec.
This is all of this is very.
This is very pressing.
It was gold, white, black with the pants were the throwback pants too.
Okay, so they've worn it 3 times.
Okay. Well, then never mind.
We should be legally mandated to wear the gold helmet at least 6 times per year.
We gotta have one gold, black, dude. And maybe before the year, maybe these are all decided before the year. So we thought that OK State game at the end of the year was going to be like a big one because we thought they were going to be a big baddie in the conference. But no. So hopefully we see something there. But I'm so sick of the grays. Long story short, I mean, I did see some of the leaked uniforms. I hope we look okay. I would imagine Utah's wearing white, so gray and white's not going to look the best.
They're wearing all white. They're like full white out. Yeah, they're gonna look. Utah's gonna look good, although it's an Under Armour school, which is lame.
So to get back to how they actually play this year, they are. Everyone says this. They are a hard defense. They're a hard defensive out. They're 11th in the country in points allowed per game at 17, which isn't nothing. That is legit, right? However, I'll also say that I think CU is at 22 points allowed per game, so it's not a huge gap. and CU is 51st at 22 points allowed per game. And I also do think there's a mentality there where Utah's defense, I think BYU is the last gasp, but I do think mentality-wise, they can't keep trying to keep them in games with an offense that can't move the ball. So I'm a little worried of the scoring defense. They're allowing less than 50% of passes completed against their opponents this year, which is crazy. That is pretty nuts. So it's going to be a hard team. It's going to feel sludgy for sure. I'm just not scared of them. I don't know. They don't have the high end talent. They always have like two dudes that are terrifying the defensive line. Van Fillinger is scary, but he's also been questionable in and out of the lineup last few weeks too. He's not that scary. Six sacks is a lot, but that's one dude. And I will also say the edges are really soft. If you watch BYU play them last week, BYU was cutting them up on the outside.
I think they're not good. I think they rank in like the 80s or 90s in explosive plays allowed. So they, as a defense, they do a good job of a lot of things, but they do let up the big play, and that's the whole offense. That's just how we play football. So that necessarily doesn't stack up super great for Utah either. I know Jimmy's not going to play, which is a big blow to that explosive play factor. But still, you have guys like Will and Travis and LeJohntay, and LeJohntay I think is probably in for a monster day when it comes to the big play. Like he's gonna rip a couple off just because he's so fast. But yeah,
and it will be interesting to see who's returning kicks with Horn out, and then the other one is Hodge out. With Hodge out, you probably don't want Colton Hood returning kicks, right? Because he's going to be starting on that defense. So maybe Colton Hood will take him out. Maybe Wester will take him out. Maybe it'll be someone new entirely.
I see Isaiah Harge.
Oh, yeah. Isaiah Harge would be good. Maybe Draylon Miller.
Yeah, Draylon Miller would probably be my bet for kick.
I think Isaiah Harge is that's a good bet. That is a fun one. Isaiah Harge is really fun.
Yeah.
If you watch him play running back in that spring game, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So I think Wester is going to have a big game. He's having a great year in general.
They said Assad Wasim in the chat. That's a good one.
Assad Wasim, that is a good one too. I would be down for that. One. That's fun.
We'll just come back to the fact that I think Wester will have a good game. I also think Hunter dropped one short TD in another long game last week against Texas Tech on the screens. There was the one that he dropped. It was after he hurt his hand, I think, on defense. So part of it's him looking at field. Part of it might have just been bad. But you watch Seton decleat the defensive back, getting ready for that, ready to go. And the way that he took the other one to the house, I don't know, man. I think they are still force feeding Travis a little bit on offense. Don't think that's a bad idea, and I don't think that'll stop this week either. Utah has had really, really good defensive backs in the last few years. And they have a really good safety, but he's also a good hard-hitting safety, right? He's more of a Shiloh Sanders type than, I would say, a more coverage type, right? Tal Johnson's good. I don't think he's going to be a really good cover guy. And then on the outside and cornerbacks, I think they're way softer than they normally are. So I think West is a great game. I think they're still going to force feed Travis.
And then Ball Out says, didn't Assad return a kick against Utah last year? To be completely honest with you, I don't remember.
Jack is saying, yeah.
That sounds right.
It probably. I blocked out that game just because I was so mad after it, because we should have won. But that sounds about right. That was a weird game, though.
Yeah, well, and this is what I've been wondering today after I found out Hodge was out. Hodge is a huge part of this defense.
Yep.
And with this offense being limited now with a fifth string quarterback, we'll just call him fifth string. I don't know what he is.
That's what he was last year, and that's not going to change.
What they made on this fifth string quarterback, you see it with these quarterbacks who are relatively limited. He's not going to be looking to make deep reads. He's not going to be looking to make the big play all the time, maybe once or twice, but a lot of their yardage, if it comes through the passing game, is going to be the tight ends, to the slot, to the running backs, stuff like that. Does it worry you guys that Hodge is out? How do you feel about Colton Hood stepping in, and how does that change the schematics of this secondary, given we don't really have a backup nickel corner?
I'm I am concerned. I would say on a concerned scale of 1 to 10, I would say I'm about a 6 or a 7. Just because of the fact that we don't really have a true second string nickel, like you said. I know, Jake, you threw out the idea earlier of maybe Travis sliding over and playing nickel, and then Colton Hood coming in and filling in. They kind of just shuffle a little bit, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it, and just kind of see what Travis can do at nickel. But also, I don't know. It's just a weird scenario when you lose a guy that's that important to your secondary and has a very specific role and no one else can really do it. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think he's important. I think the reason we don't think we have a backup nickel is because we haven't had to see that, because Hodge has been so rock steady. I'm not worried at all about the Utah passing game, period. So, like, you can tell me whatever you want about that. I'm not scared of Atari throwing. He threw 11 passes last year when Utah won. 11, right?
I might be able to go out there and play nickel corner.
Yeah, go watch that game from last year and just look at how bad he was. I remember it was awful.
So no Keithy either, which is a huge safety outlet. Like, Keithy is their red zone offense and is their safety outlet. They have good tight ends behind them, but no one that's like that. And Dorian Singer will get open, but I'm not worried about the boundary corners as much. I think what we've seen prior to this year, and I would prefer this too, is we get 3 safeties in there if we need to. So we've seen it before where Carter Stoutmire can step up to the nickel side. Cam Simlin-Craig can step up in that slot, and also Shiloh can, depending on the look we see, right? If they're getting more jumbo, 2 tight end set, and we want that dime look or that nickel look still, then Shiloh is going to be a really good pick for that nickel slot because he can cover tight ends, he's bigger, and he's great in run support, right? If we're seeing it more of a 11 look or a 3 receiver, 1 tight end look, then someone like Stoudemire or Simlin-Craig makes more sense there because they're a lot faster. And there's no one I trust more in open field tackling with running backs than Cam Simlin-Craig. Like, he's been incredible at that all year long. So I'm not worried about that part of it. And also, like you said, I don't think they're going to ask Batari to make complicated reads. Never forget that their offensive coordinator was Northwestern's offensive coordinator under Pat Fitzgerald over those 3 years. Even complicated reads, there's no shot that they're good. Like, his best offense was 120th at Northwestern. This is not a well-designed offense, and they're running on fumes. So, like, at the end of the day, man, I don't think that this offense is going to be able to do a lot of stuff that we want them to. Rose made stuff happen by throwing up prayers and running a lot, and that was good against BYU. They capitalized on turnovers. He moved the ball with his legs, and he was throwing deep downfield one-on-one coverage to a defense that can't give that up from time to time because they're aggressive. This is not Brandon Rose, and they don't have the option to have the legs. Batari doesn't really run the same way that Rose does. So I'm just not – maybe, once again, you can quit this. I'm just not that worried right now.
Yeah, and I'm not either. I think we did see Hodge come out for a few snaps against Cincinnati. Am I crazy, Ryland? You remember that? We were talking about that in the press box.
Yeah,
and
I do remember that now.
It was actually a combination of what I talked about and what Jack talked about. They pretty much matched up the corners to a man, and so they had anyone might have played nickel corner depending on where their guy lined up at. And then eventually, I think they moved Shiloh down into the box and played Shiloh as like and Cam at times, but they played Shiloh or Cam as a pseudo corner and brought in 3 safeties a few times. So we only saw that for maybe a quarter, but we maybe saw 15 or 20 snaps from this defense and what the defense would look like without Hodge. And it's pretty much exactly what Jack talked about. So I'm not, if this was a bigger game, even if this was Kansas the next week, maybe I'd be worried about Hodge being out a little bit more because it does affect the schematics of our defense. But with this being Utah, with their quarterback being, I'll just say it, Buns, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, and I will. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
Well, the thing that came up against Texas Tech that's going to come up here too, Utah has a better offensive line than Texas Tech. Are they that much better? CU's not going to get 8 sacks again, but if I'm Utah, I'm still pretty scared of BJ Green, of Arden Walker, of the Keaton Wade plays, of Okunlola, let alone, in Nwankwo. We know that Shane Coates isn't back again, but like that means that Damian Lewis and Warren Sapp have coached a very tenacious defensive line all year. And you're telling me right now that Warren Sapp and Damian Lewis aren't saying, like, this guy hasn't taken snaps in a full year, and he had to get ready with 3 days of full practice prep. You guys need to tee off. Like, those guys are going to be teeing off against Utah. And it's nice to have a pass rush that people need to care about, right? Like, they need to care about this pass rush. So, I don't know. Something that I think about all the time, too, is, like, Utah has a good offensive line. They're not like they have been before where they're a brick wall. And we're going to be able to do some stuff.
Yeah, and then Ball Out says last year they ran the ball 50 times and averaged like 5 yards per carry. I'd like to see them do that again this year. What do you guys think about that?
Bernard's a freak. Bernard's really good. Like he is just really tough, right?
Yeah,
but
Bernard is awesome.
But different CU team than last year, as he pointed out. CU lost by 6 last year, which is a testament to how bad Batari is and also how solid Staub was in that game. And Jaden Glover was over 100 yards, right? He had 6.3 yards per carry. That Vaki guy who's also gone was at 10 yards a carry last year. And I do remember Jaquindon Jackson, we actually held him down a little bit, but he was solid too. Like, Bernard is different. He's not a home run hitter. He's solid, but he's going to run through you as opposed to anything else. And we've seen all year long, you cannot do that against the CU defense. You just can't.
One thing that I talked about in the preview a little bit that I wrote this week, selfless plug, I'll probably do it one more time, but was, I think there's a little bit of intrigue that comes in. What if this game gets to be a 3-possession game or even a 4-possession game? Do you guys think that this coaching staff is going to look towards backup, second and third stringers to try to get some reps? Or do you think they're going to try to juice the stats? Because I think they're probably going to juice the stats.
Yes,
you're going to see Travis get the ball on every single play. Yeah.
Well, and defensively, we might see Travis taking some risks. We might see him trying to bait routes. We might see Travis come on a corner blitz. I mean, we might see a bunch of weird stuff designed to just.
All day anyways, I'm telling you right now, we're going to see that all day. Like, who are we scared of in the CU that they have to throw to, right? Like, we're going to see that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Does anybody have predictions here for, I guess, player of the game? And I'm banning Travis. You can't say Travis. We've already talked about Travis for like 40 minutes.
They're just going to juice his stats.
Yeah, Travis is too easy of a pick. So Travis is banned.
Do we have a standing rule that we can't do repeats too? I'm assuming I can't do Hill Green again.
You can if you really want. But
you got to have a good
I'm not
reason.
Stop you.
I'll do no repeats. I'll do no repeats.
Okay.
I think my pick for the game is going to be Augustive. I think keeping the chains moving is going to be huge. He always keeps his legs moving. He stays patient. He waits for his moment. Takes a big play. I think we could see Augustive go up over 60, 70 yards, which is, I know it's only 60 or 70 yards. I know, but this is Colorado. This is the Colorado Buffaloes. They've got 4 receivers who hope to play in the pros next year. So I think we could see Augustive go over 70 yards even. And I do think they'll split carries with Hayden. But I think if Augustive can keep this offense on time, that's when you're going to see Shedeur be able to have, that kind of plus territory red zone success. So if Augustave can, stay above 4 or 5 yards a carry, keep the chains moving, I think this offense has unlimited potential to put up numbers up into the 30 range.
I'll go LeJohntay. LeJohntay he's kind of established himself as like the chain mover of the group, but he is also, without Jimmy, he's going to be by far the fastest person on this field. And I don't know if Utah's secondary is going to be able to necessarily keep up with that, especially super far down the field on like a go route. I think we're going to see LeJohntay break some off. We'll have to see though, because I think that Travis is going to do the same. So it'll be an interesting balancing act between the wide receivers this week. Because last week it was a really balanced passing attack between all, I guess, 3 of the receivers because Jimmy got hurt. But this week, I think somebody's going to dominate the game and it's going to be Travis. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm going to cheat. again. So I'll say it without even saying it. I'm saying his name, and I won't. But he's not my pick. Jordan Seaton's going to be fun to watch again this week. That's a really fun matchup with Fillinger. So just watch that and enjoy because Seaton keeps getting better. Something to keep in mind. I'm once again going to pick a guy that makes me disagree with Jake. I actually think that my pick on offense is going to be, I think this is going to be the Dallin Hayden game. The second game that we see him break out. Like I said, I think Utah's really soft on the edge of the defense. And I think Hayden is at his best when he can bounce those. We saw that against UCF and a few other runs this year. He has the home run pop that Augusta just doesn't have. So I do think that this week, we're going to see Hayden run behind people like Seaton, even pulling Seaton like that, and trying to get him to those edges because he is going to, if he can't get there, he has the speed. He just needs to make one guy miss, right? So a lot of that's on that perimeter blocking too. We've seen really good. That's where we miss Jimmy Horn a lot. I think he's an incredible blocker downfield. I also think Shepard's really good at that. So I think we're going to run at Shepard's side wherever he is with Hayden on there. Just watch for those boundary runs. That's my pick.
Every time they pull Seaton, I get so happy. It's so fun. Watching a CU team pull their tackle. Oh my God. I can't believe we're in that spot.
He's an animal. Like you watch him against the Texas Tech tape, and he just swallows linebackers and he swallows nickels every single time they run those screens. It's freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got score predictions.
No defense guys this week.
Oh, we can do defense. Sorry, let's do defense.
It's a tougher one. I think my pick is going to be. I think it's going to be Silman Craig. I don't think that's one I've done yet. It's kind of low hanging fruit. You know, he's the leader of this defense. Ryland's pissed. It was his. Yeah, that was his all the way. But like we just talked about, there's a very good chance that we run 3 safeties in this game. Someone's going to have to be in the box. Someone's going to have to pick up the slot guy. And they need someone who can come downfield and tackle and help in run support. That's the biggest thing you want from a nickel with Hodge missing. You know, I think the most likely answer is that's probably Silman Craig. It could be Stoudemire at times. It could be Shiloh at times, but I think the most likely pick for a guy who can get down, you know, pick up a couple tackle for losses and really make life tough for the outside run game is going to be Silman Craig.
I'm going to go with DJ McKinney. I think without Hodge, that his role in the secondary is going to be expanded. They're going to put him even more out on an island than they usually do. Probably, I could easily see him being on Stinger the whole game.
I think he will be.
Yeah. So I think that him playing man against Singer is going to be, for a full 60 minutes, is going to be a joy to watch. And he's been phenomenal all year in that press man coverage. I know Jack loves saying talking about how sticky this guy is. So I'm just, that's going to be a really fun matchup. I'm excited for that.
Okay. Good picks. I'm going to go with a guy that we should have mentioned during the recap too. Going to start again because of injuries. I think Amari McNeil is going to make himself some more money this week. That too. He was flashing last year. He is insane this year. All those Texas Tech goal line runs, even the ones that didn't exactly work in CU's favor, he is just destroying the middle of interior lines. Full workload again this week. We're going to see a lot of him and a lot of Anquin Barnes in the middle with Nwako too. I think Amari McNeil is going to have himself a day again. That dude is crazy. So fun to watch, and he's so big. So watch for Amari McNeil to pop some guys. That's I don't know. He had a game last week.
Yeah. Now score predictions.
I'll go first. I think I'm just going to keep picking CU right around 28 points. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for them. They typically score 28. It's typically score 4 or 5 touchdowns, and they don't like to kick field goals. So I could see them scoring 35, but I'm going to go 28, and I really think Utah is going to struggle to move the ball. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that Utah might not score an offensive touchdown at all. I think they might have a kick return touchdown. I think they might have a defensive touchdown. Special teams is so horrendous.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's the worst in the Big 12, probably. And I'm not watching every Big 12 special teams, but I don't see how it gets worse than Colorado's.
The kicker's visiting. Just saying. High school kicker's visiting this game.
Oh wait, no, he was at the last home game, wasn't he?
Rhett Armstrong was at the Cincinnati game. There's a separate kicker visiting this week.
Okay.
They're getting their shit together.
But I don't think it's a ridiculous take to say that the Utah offense might be held to less than 6 or 7 first downs, let alone will they even score a touchdown. I'm gonna go 28-13.
All right. Go ahead, Ryland.
I'll go 31-17. The 17 seems high, and that's only because I think there's going to be some usual Colorado versus Utah tomfuckery happening. We'll have to see. They're going to run some triple reverse wildcat bullshit, and it's going to work.
It might. Yeah, it might. It might.
But you never know. Who is fast enough to make that be anything on their team? That's what I'm saying. Is they do that. But who was? I
don't think so. But I never count anything out. I've been burned by this so many times. I'm not accustomed to playing Utah and being comfortable. That's not.
Yeah. You say this Utah tomfoolery, but never forget John Embry's one and only conference win as a Colorado head coach came against Utah when they were about to play in the Pac-12 championship. It goes the other way. When we were worse, CU was also playing them hard too, right?
Yeah.
This might be before some people's times. Never forget Kate Apsay in 2017. If anyone even knows this name in this chat, that'd be incredible. Jaleel Awini in 2015, option quarterback, still making moves. 2018, Kurt Roper, interim head coach.
This is deep lore.
Are we saying things that we all know? Maddox Kopp was starting for Carl DeRosa.
Oh, Maddox Kopp.
Lore.
God damn, I forgot about Maddox Kopp.
Yeah, there is foolery on both sides. There were years when CU should not have been anywhere near the field. That made it pretty close under the McIntyre era too, man. So sure, they've always played CU pretty hard, but the other side is true too.
Yeah.
Do we want to look at? Oh yeah, Jack didn't go.
Jack, you got to.
I'm going to say they get 3 field goals off of field position and maybe a turnover. So I'm going to say they get 9 points. I'm going to say CU gets 34 points. And once again, you can clown me if you want, but I just don't.
I love that prediction.
I don't think they have it, man. I don't see where they could have it. So
I don't. I think the over under on their touchdowns should be one, a half. I think it should be 1 or 0. It should be a half. I don't know that they'll score a touchdown. Maybe Jack and I. Maybe this gets clipped. Maybe this is uploaded on Utah Twitter. I don't know, but. This might be the biggest regret Jack and I have had, but I kind of agree with Jack. I'm leaning towards them not scoring an offensive touchdown.
But Utah Twitter is kind of like Arizona Twitter right now, from what I can tell, where both of them are just
it's
please
bad.
Just
it's
let
bad.
us get a new coach at the end of the year. They're both just who cares what happens? We need to get through it and start over. As I think where they're both at. So maybe they do, but I also think Utah Twitter is that's fine. This season's lost. Who cares? Sure, see you that they lose. That's okay. And they still technically are playing for a game, but a bowl game. This, just like Arizona, is such a fall from grace where I don't think the fans are as invested in this win. And this isn't. Do they have ill will against CU? I don't know. I don't have any ill will.
I don't think so. It's not a real rivalry. It's some bullshit the Pac-12 pushed. It wasn't
And the thing that Ryland mentioned that none of us mentioned in the score prediction or after that. I can guarantee you, and maybe this is another thing that shouldn't be clipped, but I shouldn't say guarantee. I strongly believe that Utah's going to have the worst whistle they've ever had in a conference game this next week. If your athletic director, after they lose, comes out and says, we don't actually want to be here anymore, I don't want to be a full conspiracy theorist and saying, they're going to make them lose the game, but that is something that refs talk to conference commissioners and other people in the centralized office, that's going to come up. That's not going to curry them any favor, right? That's something to keep in mind too, that we might see some things where CU gets a hold that isn't called a few times and people bitch about it. I'm just saying that's going to be a part of this game too.
This is probably a good good intermission point to say if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat now because we've only got a couple more things we're going to be going into here. How do you guys feel about talking about the other Big 12 games real quick?
It's the only conference worth watching this week. Everyone else was terrible.
Yeah. So first game, we've got Utah at Arizona. Or no, not Utah. What am I talking about?
That's going to be tough for them. That's going to be tough.
two games in one day.
2 games in a day. Is it like a split squad? Like
they're doing the
spring
Bishop
training
Sycamore move. This is the Bishop Sycamore move, man.
It is.
Forgot about Bishop Sycamore.
That's a real team, by the way. Real high school. Not 30-year-old men.
Not run out of a P.O. box in Columbus, Ohio.
No, dude, the prime prep of Ohio.
Yeah, that was okay. So Houston at Arizona. They're both red logos. Houston at Arizona. Does anyone think oh yeah, that's tonight at 8:15. Does anyone think Arizona actually has a shot in that game? Because they are favored, I think.
Is
it in Tucson?
Yes.
But the rumor is if Brent Brennan loses this, he's out. So
he probably should be.
Arizona fans
probably should be anyway.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Arizona or Willie Fritz has found something now that they aren't working with Donovan Smith at quarterback. The defense is salty, which is what no one was thinking at the beginning of the year. Coming off a pretty big 2 weeks for Houston. They're fighting for bowl eligibility too, man. So I think they're going to be fired up. I'm pro Houston.
I'm definitely going Houston heavy on this one. Anything's possible. Arizona's not a completely terrible team, despite what I've said in recent weeks. But yeah, give me Houston.
I'm going Houston too. Willie Fritz is an awesome coach. If you've watched Tulane football over the last 2 years, you know that Willie Fritz is awesome. What's that quarterback's name? Houston's quarterback? I forget what his name is.
Well, it was Donovan Smith, and they've moved in between two backups. Hopefully,
the dude that they basically just have running, basically just his like his hair is on fire the whole game. That guy's awesome. I forget what his name is, but.
Zion Chris, I think.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, he's awesome. And I don't think Arizona's defense has it in him. Like that defense is like Swiss cheese right now with just holes and injuries, and it's just a nightmare. It's good to see Arizona fans in this spot with how much shit they talked over the last year.
What's fun about both them and Utah is like both of them expected to come in and walk their shit in the Big 12, right? And pretty big ball for both. And like you said, all offseason, Arizona, it seemed like there's a weird thing where they were like T-Mac and Fafita are so much better than Shador and Travis, which T-Mac is incredible. Like I never wanted to be like anti-T-Mac, but it just was a thing all year, all offseason where like they seemed to have a chip on the shoulder. Not working out, but yeah.
I guarantee you that stadium in Tucson is going to be empty too because the basketball team plays Wisconsin tonight, and they're probably more focused on that tonight.
Yeah,
we're going to be playing that shit on the Jumbotron.
Let's see what's up. Can we get him for less than 10? What do you think?
Less over unders $10. I'm gonna say over, but I'm going like I'm like thinking like $12.
Are we saying the cheapest get-in price for one ticket?
Yeah.
Is that what we're betting on right now?
Yep.
I got $12.
Okay. Do we want to see what the cheapest get-in price right now is? I have the answer. Do you want to hear it?
Is it more or less than a Big Mac meal?
It is $2.
Oh! I was going to say $3.
It is $2.
Oh, that's so fun.
See, no big deal. Just saying, no big deal.
Okay.
The 10th sellout under Coach Prime.
Next game we've got is it should be a little closer, I'd say, is Baylor at West Virginia. That's going to be the
1 point line,
2:00 window if you're Mountain Time. Yeah, is that
is Garrett Green playing? That's the question. Is Garrett Green playing?
I think.
Remember, West Virginia's about a road team, so it's at Baylor.
Yeah. Well, no, Baylor at West Virginia.
Oh, is that what it is? I'm getting this wrong then.
Yeah,
okay,
Baylor at West Virginia. It's in Morgantown. I like, maybe I'm just biased because I got to watch Baylor this year in person, but I think Baylor's a pretty solid football team, top to bottom. West Virginia's had some struggles. Baylor's had some struggles, but Baylor's heating up, and West Virginia's had some up and downs. I like Baylor, but I think it's a close game. And I'm going to use the restroom while you guys talk about this.
Bye, Jake.
We have to CU should be pro Baylor for the rest of the year. Aranda
Mhm.
keeping their job is good news for CU, but also the better that Baylor looks, the better CU looks. And frankly, I like their team, man. Sawyer Robertson was fun. I love their running back stable. They had, in my opinion, still the best wide receivers that CU's faced all year. I love the whole group. Monterey Baldwin is really fun too. And their defense is okay, getting better. I think that we should all be rooting for Baylor. I'm pretty heavy on Baylor this year or this week. But also weird shit happens in Morgantown, dude. I've never seen a quarterback do worse than Brendan Sorsby did against West Virginia in the second half of that game. The choices he was making were wild. They were wild choices. So weird stuff happens.
I will be kind of a contrarian. This is a weird, convoluted way to do this. But if Garrett Green, Wyatt Milam are playing, I'm going to pick West Virginia. Playing in Morgantown, Sawyer Robertson is awesome. He has the juice, and Baylor's wide receiver core is also awesome. But I think if West Virginia is rolling out with basically their best two players playing, I think that they'll be able to get the job done. It's going to be a weird environment, and they're finding their footing seemingly. They're still technically in the race for the conference title. What are they? They're like fifth in the conference at this point.
Ryland, but I do think that you owe them a disclaimer in saying that you're a closeted West Virginia fan.
I was at one point. No, what are they? They're sixth in the conference. I was a closeted West Virginia fan, and then Neil Brown was like boneheaded, and I was like, I don't want to get involved in this. So, Neil Brown. Neil Brown's he's a guy. He's a guy who may or may not have a job in about a month and a half time.
One of the guys of all time.
It's just like Arizona, where they don't have the cash on hand to make the moves. Arizona looks like they might be finding it, but West Virginia's in a bad spot too financially.
Yeah. What's the next game here?
Next game, Arizona State at Kansas State. That game's going to kick off at 5 tomorrow.
This is a treat game. This game is dessert for us. Like the CU fans, I'm excited for this. I like Arizona State in this game, to be honest. I think that Cam Skattebo is so fucking fun. Cam Skattebo rocks. I want to see Cam Skattebo against the Arizona State defense. It's going to be like a Cam Skattebo DJ Giddens shootout. I don't know. I have a gut feeling telling me that Arizona State's got it in them.
Well, you got some juice on the money line if you want that. I think they're 7.5 point underdogs. So, if you want some cash to be made,
you could juice the money line, but man, that spread doesn't look bad.
Yeah, I'll bet them to cover.
Yeah, I think
I don't know about the money line.
I think it'll be closer. I think in terms of cushion, we want Kansas State to win this, if I remember correctly, because ASU has less conference losses. ASU third in conference right now.
Yeah, right? I think both of their losses have come in conference. Who did they lost to Texas Tech, and they also lost to who did they lose to?
Is it BYU?
But Kansas State losing to Houston was huge for the math here, because if Kansas State wins out, CU still ahead of them, and them winning out is better as a whole for CU, because that means it takes out Arizona State, it takes out Iowa State, and also they're ranked ahead of CU in the CFB ranking still. So them continuing to win allows CU to move up too.
Yeah. Their second conference loss is to Cincinnati. So we've beat both the teams that they've lost to.
Yeah.
So,
I think I'd probably go Kansas State, but only by like a field goal. Like, I think this game's close, and I think it could go either way.
So I think this line is pricing that Skattebo is still questionable, and I think he's not going to be full bore no matter what, which is why this line looks a little weird. Kansas State's had a rough go of it, man. They've had a rough go of it.
Yeah.
They're still good, but not the way you want them to be. I think Kansas to me is more scary than Kansas State at this point. And I'm still holding that in as a CU loss. So I think Kansas State wins this. I think it's because Skattebo isn't 100% and Kansas State can shut down the rest. but I also think it'll be gross. This feels like a 17-14 or like 20-17 game.
Yeah, I can see that.
We do have a question here. What do you guys think the rest of the season will look like for Colorado? I mean, that's a good question, and there's a lot of football left to play. Are we in consensus that we think that CU is going to play in Dallas in the conference championship game?
Yeah, I do think so. I think we play 3 of the weakest teams in the Big 12. Barring injuries,
Jack.
Oh,
No,
wow.
man.
Jack is afraid of
think,
Kansas.
Yeah, dude. You think Kansas is one of the weakest teams in the Big 12?
I'm afraid of
statistically,
Kansas.
I mean, or like, I guess ranking wise, yeah, they're still like two and whatever in the conference. So I'm not as high on Kansas yet. If they find a way to upset BYU on Saturday night, then hey, maybe I'll start sweating Kansas out. But I see you actually on specific sports books has overtaken BYU as the favorite to win the conference and move on to the college football playoff. So I think that's something that's interesting. That all boils down to the fact that BYU has not looked great. Colorado's hot. And I honestly would say if I see a Colorado BYU game, I'd probably lean Colorado, especially in Dallas. You might have some Dion supporters down there. Who knows? I do genuinely think Colorado probably at this point might be the Big 12 representative in the college football playoff. Could see a home playoff game at Folsom, but I don't think they'll do much more than maybe first or at most second round of the college football playoff.
Here's my question to you guys. What other than their defensive line, what is BYU good at?
They got a pretty good secondary, right? They're corners. They've got a couple good man corners.
Offensively, what is BYU good at?
All right, you got me.
Jake Retzlaff magic, dude?
I mean, yeah, Jake Retzlaff is fun, but it's hard to sit down and talk about like what BYU is specifically good at. Like, bad take on that one on BYU. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. BYU.
No. He was saying my take was bad. We're gonna be national champions. Which, hey, more power to you.
We're beating Tennessee in the national championship game.
Tennessee, dude. What?
I know
what
it's a joke.
What are you talking about?
It's a joke.
Okay, yeah, they're no.
Nico Amaliava magic.
No, I don't know, man. I think CU still might go to the conference championship with 3 losses, 2 conference losses. I'm still thinking that Kansas King is very scary. They're a very scary team. We do not want them to beat BYU. If they lose to BYU this week, they're out of bowl contention, which I feel like would be helpful for motivational purposes. We also want BYU to be undefeated because the more ranked teams and the higher they are ranked in the Big 12, the rising tide lifts CU's boat. That's a 2.5 points. We'll get to that. That game's a 2.5 point contest. So yeah, I think Arizona State, Kansas State this weekend is a pretty big one too. In terms of just like what shakes out behind CU. Like I said, I think Arizona State's at 2 conference losses, as is Kansas State. We have all the tiebreakers on ASU. So if they win, it's still third. But we also, Kansas State winning helps us. Long story short, I still think CU is going to lose to Kansas. They scare me, and they're continuing to scare me a lot. They don't have a defense, which is helpful, but Jalen Daniels is very good, which is unhelpful. And I don't know, the fact that they are on the road against the conference leader and the 2.5 point dogs tells me a lot. CU with 2 conference losses is still going to be in the hunt. It's all going to shake out behind them in terms of they need Kansas State to lose one more game, right? If they do that and Kansas State loses one more game, they're still in an okay spot.
Yeah. Ooh. And then what do we got next up, Jake?
Cincinnati at Iowa State, which I think could actually be a decent game.
I like Cincinnati. I think that
you're on dogs, dude. You're on dogs this week.
Yeah, he is. My gosh.
I don't know. What's the spread on that? I don't know. I'm thinking
7.5. It's
7.5. I don't know. I think Iowa State is a flawed team, and we're seeing this now. Rocco Becht is not the answer that I think people thought he was. Wide receivers are still really good, and that their refusal to basically shift away from the run game is going to hurt them. I think Cincinnati is a better team than people are giving them credit for, even though I know last week was a tough week for them in Morgantown. I'll be fun. Give me Cincinnati. I don't know. I think Sorsby is going to have a big day, and then both of the running backs are really fun.
I'm saying if you put $10 down on your 2 money line bets right now as a little parlay, that's a good way to lose $10. But if you are right twice, you're going to get some nice cash back.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I might be blogging from a fucking yacht next week. So we'll see.
It's going to be tough. Yeah, I don't know. That's a fun game too. I think those are both similarly constructed teams. I trust Sorsby more than I trust Rocco Beck, but I trust Iowa State's defense much more than I trust Cincinnati's defense. And Cincinnati's defense is basically a carbon copy, but with less behind it of Iowa State's. So they're both going to know how to hurt the other one pretty well. Corey Kinner right? Corey Kinner? I already forgot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's still very good. He's still very good. And that tight end for Cincinnati is pretty fun too. But Iowa State was a conference champ for a reason. They're like in free fall right now. Still solid. I think this game is going to be a rock fight. I don't think either team's going to win by 7 points or more. So I would definitely take the points if you're going to bet this. But I do think Iowa State wins another gross one, kind of like ASU KSU. I don't know. Let's go 24-21.
Yeah, I think Jack's is pretty spot on that one. I think this could be a good game. I'm higher on the Cincinnati defense than most. I know they've had their troubles, but they play as a unit. If they get momentum, if they get hyped up, they play with a swagger that no one else in the Big 12 necessarily plays with. It's 12 men to the ball. You see the ball carrier swarmed in red every single time. I think that's a close game, and I could totally see Cincinnati winning it, but Iowa State probably by a field goal sounds about right. Last game is going to be Kansas at BYU. This game is
huge.
This game's huge.
I'll let somebody else go first. I've gone first last few times. If you want to, man, I'm just telling you. I'm not taking little on this. So
I'm not.
We desperately want BYU to win this one. We desperately need BYU to win this one. Not need, but it would be very helpful for a few different reasons if BYU won this game. I like Kansas's talent on offense more than I like BYU's talent on offense. Longtime listeners of Jack, which I hope there are zero, that have remembered anything I say from 3 years ago. That'd be very sad. But when Carl DeRoe was originally fired, I had a podcast of quick fire candidates. And back then, I was talking about the head coach of Weber State that I loved as a little shot in the dark guy. His name was Jay Hill. A lot of people know his name now because he's the defensive coordinator for BYU. And that dude rules. He just makes good defenses. He just does. They have a really, really good defense. Kansas has a really good offense. That's going to be the side to watch if you're going to watch a side on this. BYU is going to score because Kansas is hard. Will give up explosive plays whenever you want them to. So watch for LJ Martin. And Retzlaff is going to absolutely throw some prayers. On the other side of it, I do think Kansas is going to run around. Jalen Daniels is a running quarterback, and that's going to hurt BYU just like it's going to hurt CU. The thing that's going to help BYU here is Provo Magic, right? Night games at BYU are terrifying because no one's drunk. They're all just incredibly caffeinated. They're going to be very organized in their chants, and there's just some magic there. So I'm going to take BYU because I need that to happen.
Jack even dove into religion and how that plays a part in this game. I think that's phenomenal. I have to agree. I think those caffeinated Mormons are going to be rowdy. I think it's a really tough game. I'd have to say, despite the recency bias that pulls me towards Kansas and away from BYU, I do think BYU is the more solid team, top to bottom. Probably got them by about 6 points.
I think that you guys are underestimating something majorly. You guys are talking about the caffeination, but you haven't mentioned Cougar Tails at all. So we need to talk about the factor that Cougar Tails have in this game. Giant, 4 foot long donut. Yeah. Another thing that I think that we haven't talked about yet is the Kansas secondary with Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson. I wouldn't be shocked if they just eliminate Jake Retzlaff from this game.
But they haven't done that all year to anyone. That's
They
the thing,
haven't,
right?
but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Like on paper, that secondary is really good, and I think it will happen at some point, and I don't think it's going to happen against Shedeur Sanders. So we'll have to see. I'll take Kansas, I guess. I don't know. I'm being devil's advocate today just for the sake of it, but I'll take Kansas.
I will also say this sets up kind of well for how we know BYU likes to play, where they destroyed Kansas State in like 5 minutes of game time because Avery Johnson loved throwing the ball to BYU. Loved throwing the ball to BYU. Jalen Daniels, his big Achilles heel this year is he's been turnover prone. He makes bad choices. And BYU is the team that will kill you for that. And they killed Kansas State, like I said. It was like 3 drives, and they were done. They beat the game. Like, they finished it.
Yeah.
They might speed run Kansas the same way, where if they can just capitalize on bad decisions, then it's game over.
Yeah, I think that's another good point.
Not to NFL. Oh, sorry, Jake.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Not to NFLize this, but the BYU defense kind of reminds me of like Brian Flores and the Vikings defense. Not necessarily schematically, but why are you shaking your head? Not schematically.
Just joking. I'm just joking.
The amount of turnovers they're forcing is unsustainable in my opinion. At some point, it's going to fall back to earth, and we'll have to see when.
Yeah, Jalen Daniels was at 13-9 TD to interception.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen against Jalen Daniels. I've watched like a couple of Kansas games this year. I watched that UNLV game, and it was awful. He looked horrible.
But they're a different team now, man.
They are. It is different, but it's still he still has the interception bug in him. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, those are the Big 12 games. Do we want to take these couple questions we got in the chat and get out of here?
Sure. Who's the best player in college football? 3, 2, 1. Travis Hunter. Okay.
Travis Hunter.
I'm glad no one said Ashton
I like
Jensen.
these softballs from Reagan.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the correct answer, apparently, I didn't know that there was a correct answer to that first question, but I guess the correct answer was Colorado's winning it all. And the correct answer to the second question was Travis Hunter is the best player, not only in college football, but actually in the world. Travis Hunter is so that's the correct answer.
Yeah. And then take this away, Jack. With your cats.
They're both just domestic short hairs. They're both street cats, so we don't really know. But they are kittens. They're still growing. And they are sisters, so they look very different, but they are of the same mom and dad.
Catman Jack
is the answer. Street cat.
Catman Jack, as John from the Ralphie blog named you, or from the Husker blog named you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good. If you don't like listening to me, at least you can just look. They usually have fighting behind me or something. I don't know. They both took dumps during this podcast, so that was great.
I think that's all we have for tonight, right? Are we missing anything? Cool. Well, yeah. Tomorrow, big game, morning game. Go to Big Noon if you can. I'm hearing it's going to be there might be some fun stuff happening. I've heard some rumors, so I'm not going to say just in case they're not true, but I think it's probably going to be worth your time to go to Big Noon. Kickoff's at 10 tomorrow. We're 13-point favorites. Let's win. Let's go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.